On today's episode, we're looking at landscaping.
For self-builders to know is that with the hard landscaping, that's all zero rated for VAT. One of my top tips definitely to people was about having money in the budget for some landscaping. You'd have seen on the mood board again from the planning, that, almost exactly that picture.
In today's episode, we're looking outside the home at the landscaping, talking about the design process, the implementation and seeing the final product, about things to consider during that process. So Steve, this was all submitted at planning level, your landscape design, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. So Pete Tonks, who did the house design originally, also did a landscape design. Good for a couple of reasons. One, it helped us understand the house on the plot and where we might be using it, although that did evolve a little bit.
Yeah.
But also the point for self-builders to know is that with the hard landscaping, that's all zero rated for VAT, or there's a VAT reclaim involved, but because we had a supply and install by the landscaper, you save the VAT immediately on your hard landscaping. So rather than waiting a year down the road, if you can afford to budget and plan for it at the time you're building, definitely a big saving. This is how it all kind of started out from Pete's design. We'd got the basics in place,
layout,
but it included some planting that we already had. Then when there's pretty much a 10-foot high hedge that was running along the side of the property, that was all drawn in where it was, but very quickly we realised that needs to come down to give us the view. And so what we ended up doing was overlaying from that the plan of what we'd actually like to see the garden, so where we'd now put the pond, where we'd have a sunbathing area, where we'd barbecue, and it all was overlaid on Pete's original plan, including the various images that came from our Pinterest board. So if you look here, you can see the olive tree and the Tuscan courtyard. There's the Tuscan courtyard all drawn up. So whilst Aaron and Phipps Landscaping were able to adjust and adapt and advise on all the planting, I was able to give them a pretty tight steer on the kind of thing we were looking for. Yeah. So I know that one problem that people will have is if I try and describe to you a birch tree, there are 101 different varieties of birch tree and you're going to plant the one I don't want. Yeah. But it was Aaron that helped steer me down the line of actually what you want is a nice white bark, which is a Himalayan birch, not the traditional English birch. So although it's a little bit of a push away from an English country garden, it gave us the finish that we wanted.
100%.
To summarise it, Charlie, what we had was the drawings initially that Pete put together to get us through planning and to give the landscape plans, they knew what we were going to do, to then us putting together Pinterest and then overlaying it onto the actual map.
Some more detail.
And then working with our landscaper to actually implement our plans and ideas, but also, as importantly, advising on what would work and what wouldn't at different times of the year.
Well, it looks fantastic on paper. Let's go and see it.
Yeah, come check it out. It's good.
So Steve, we've seen it on paper, now in real life. So just talk us through some of your most favourite parts of this design and garden.
When you saw that on the plans, you saw the pictures and the ideas that we'd picked out and what we wanted to go to. And our landscaper, Aaron, had managed to bring that to reality. But you might even recognise this kind of concept, right?
Yeah, it looks good.
One of the things that definitely helped us on the whole oak frame journey was staying at the Woodhouse, at your show home. And in the garden at the Woodhouse, you've got this. So we've got oak sleepers again, but kind of random heights, because we needed to build a retaining wall between our old property that hides behind here and the new garden. And at one point we're about 1.5 meters difference from ground levels.
Gosh.
So we need to have a substantial retaining wall, but I didn't want just a brick wall or on-end sleepers. So we've gone this way, vertically, with random heights and then a beautifully planted bed that gives us that as a result. One of my top tips definitely to people was about having money in the budget for some landscaping, because I didn't want to wait forever to hide our old house. I wanted to make sure we had some screening early on, so we've gone for some substantial planting. So these will stay evergreen and give us the cover, and then in the borders we've got plants that will come through with all the different seasons, and that was something that again the landscaper helped immeasurably come up with the right. I wanted the purples and greens and greys, so they've come up because I didn't know one name of a plant from another.
So Steve, tell me about this, because I love these.
They're great, aren't they? We wanted to have this area to link the house to our annex as a kind of a, Sue described it as a Tuscan courtyard, and you'd have seen on the mood board again from planning, almost exactly that picture, and our landscapers managed to recreate the exact piece that we were looking at.
And another little area of your overall scheme.
Another sitting area.
And another seating area.
So coming up this way, Charlie, obviously we're barbecuing and eating down here,
Yep.
but kind of hidden behind it, which is what we wanted to do, behind more oak sleepers and up through the steps, is my little bit of sanctuary. This is where I'll spend quite a few early mornings staring out at the countryside, but from the hot tub.
That is amazing.
But we've got it sunken down so it's not too in your face in the way,
Yeah.
but we're shielded from everyone and everything, and I can be in there at sunrise watching it as we're due east this way. So that works a real treat. So here we are, Charlie, probably in our favourite kind of breakfast, coffee morning areas to sit here, sun coming up. Sue and I will sit here and having coffee and enjoying this area. You've seen this on the pictures and the plans of the pond area. Really put in, one, because we love the kind of the sanctuary and the space, but also we've got some family heirlooms from probably 30-year-old fish that my mother-in-law had, that we inherited and had next door, that we're then bringing into the pond here too. So,
fantastic.
But this is, again, a super spot to be able to sit and enjoy just a little bit of nature and some peace and quiet.
I hope you've enjoyed today's video looking outside the home at landscaping. If you have any questions, please leave us a comment, make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel and check out all our other social media platforms.